Ancestry DNA tests are a very big thing today. I'm sure that some of you here have taken one of these tests. But why do we do this? Well, first, because we're curious about the past. And I guess the reason is to find out about our personal history. There is an implicit acknowledgement that when you do this, you can understand something about yourself from your genes. So what if we could do an ancestry test in our ancestors? Well, that's actually what I do. I'm a paleogeneticist, and I use ancient DNA to investigate the past. It's not as easy as to take a swab sample, but new technologies allow us to travel back in time and answer some of the big questions in prehistory. Sorry, bad throat. In paleogenomics, what we do is that we collect bones of humans, that sounds creepy, that have lived in, that have lived in different periods of time, going from hundreds to thousands of years. We extract their DNA, we analyze it, and we try to see if, for example, if he was a man or a woman, determine certain physical traits such as height or the color of the hair, the skin of their eyes. We can even see if they were lactose intolerant. But most interesting of all is that we can look at their ancestry. The first decade of paleogenomics has completely revolutionized the way that we study the human past. Only today, over 1,000 ancient human genomes have been generated, documenting population transformations in every continent inhabited. That has completely transformed the way that we understand and that we comprehend the humankind. A very hot topic today, and a topic that has been a major source for archaeologists, and it's actually a major source of tension for politicians today, is that of migration. It has been believed for a long time that, or it has been debated for a long time as to whether the cultural changes that we see in the archaeological record are the result of migration events or just the transmission of ideas. So my research has contributed to this puzzle by showing that with some pieces showing that that migration has been a key factor for this thing. It has demonstrated one of the earliest expansions from into Europe, and that it has also demonstrated the times and the routes that these people followed. First, we analyzed, we wanted to see, we identified that the early farmers were completely different, genetically different people from the native hunter-gatherers in Europe. And these demonstrated or suggested that one of the major cultural changes in human history, that is the introduction of agriculture, had mainly been driven by the movement of people. So once that we knew that the farmers were completely different than the native hunter-gatherers, we wanted to see where these farmers came from. So our research directly linked the early Neolithic farmers from Anatolia with Europeans, demonstrating that the people who arrived in Europe with the knowledge of farming had originated in Anatolia, migrated from there into Europe, following either a coastal route via the Mediterranean Sea, or an inland route through Central Europe via the Danube River. This finally put an end to the long-standing debate as to whether it had been the idea of agriculture or the actual people moving. For some strange and obscure reason, one of the things that has obsessed us the most is to know if different groups of people in the past have, how should I say this, like interacted intimately. Because, yeah, we know that these people were different culturally and genetically, and we know that they met. But what did they do? Did they just ignore each other? Or did one group completely wipe out the other one? Or did they actually, I don't want to say the words. So our paleogenomic investigations have spilled the beans, revealing the intimate encounters between the native hunter-gatherers and the incoming farmers. This has also revealed that these encounters increased over time. And yeah, and also that as the passion grew between these two groups, this population became a cocktail of genes, and all this gene mixing situation. Despite all this gene mixing situation, only one of the cultures persisted. There's no hunter-gatherers today in Europe. So genetic tests such as 23andMe can tell us about our ancestry and where we come from. But does this actually define who we are? Does your 16% Irish DNA will make you more likely to drink Guinness? Does 20% of hunter-gatherer DNA in a farmer would make that farmer more likely to hunt? Well, the answer is no. And equally, a person born and raised in the United States with genetic Mexican signatures will not identify, don't necessarily identify with Mexican culture. Why? Because genes are not culture. We need to remember that genetic signatures are only biological signals. They're not cultural ones. They were not back in prehistory, and they're not now. So the question is it that nurture is stronger than nature? Well, that's something that we keep investigating. So thank you for your time.